So we've got to talk about this as we have an announcement from Amazon. They're cutting more jobs. This time 16,000. It says Amazon to cut 16,000 jobs, trimming bureaucracy amid AI tussle. And this is something I warned you guys about in 2026, that the talk isn't going to be inflation. It's actually going to be job cuts and unemployment. This could be for the next couple of years, for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. As you know, Trump's economy is slowing down everything. And everyone keeps pushing AI, like they brag about GDP. And, oh my God, look at all this AI and look at all these great data centers. But this is the ultimate end result. This is the end game right here, job cuts. And I wish more people would talk about it in an honest way, instead of like, for the Trumpy people, oh my God, you're all going to be so rich. But it's like, how does that work out if we don't have a job? You can look at this also. Amazon, when they were doing these things, they sent out an email ahead of time. So this wasn't a surprise. Like, this was actually a mistake email. It says Amazon inadvertently announces cloud unit layoffs in email to employees. But now that we're getting the actual news, it's 16,000. And if you're affected by this, or you know someone who is, you can let us know in the comments. I know a couple people who do work at Amazon. I don't know if they're affected by this particular cuts, but I'll just say this, it's probably pretty ugly over there at the moment. Their goal is, according to this is the Wall Street Journal, I guess they were targeting 30,000 job cuts, around 10% of the corporate workforce. So that's their goal. And this is what they say. It says, as I shared in October, we've been working to strengthen our organization by reducing layers, increasing ownership and removing bureaucracy. While many teams finalized their organizational changes in October, other teams did not complete that work until now. So basically what it was is they asked, various team leaders, okay, you got to get rid of someone, figure out who you're going to get with and report back to us, and then we'll send out the official mail. And that's, if you're a caring boss or caring supervisor, it's not, no one likes to do that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, then they have to figure out, okay, who gets the job duties of that person that was just cut, who's going to get those job duties, so that they allocate that. And so when they say things like increasing ownership, oh, that means that you're going to do more work. Okay, great. I'm sure the people left behind are going to be thrilled about that. Removing bureaucracy, well, there's less people to have at our meetings, so more work for you, great. Reducing layers, the same thing, right? Maybe instead of, having 3 people, you just got 2 people, and so yeah, it's reduced layers, but it's going to be more work. And then they'll say, but we have AI to assist you. So we'll see how that turns out. I think every job's going to be different, and but I do think that these kind of announcements, right, of layoffs and cuts, and they're going to mention AI and this kind of stuff, I think this is going to be a trend this year. You also have this, Amazon's promising if you work in the USA, they're going to help you for 90 days, I guess, and try to find a job internally, within the company. But I wouldn't hold my breath. And I'll be curious if anyone ever had an experience to where you got laid off and then they helped you for 9 days find something else at the same company. I'd be curious if that actually has ever worked. I'm just thinking to myself, if I ever heard of anyone actually doing that. I says, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely. That's just my read on that. So if you're in this situation, I just say this, I wouldn't get your hopes up. I don't want to be mean about this. It's just better to tell people the truth. Start looking elsewhere. But if I'm wrong, if you guys ever had the experience where a company does actually help you find something else after they lay you off, I'd be curious if that is indeed the case. Also, this is related because it's the same kind of thing. This is coming out today. Pinterest to lay off up to 15% of the workforce in restructuring. And you guessed it, it's going to be AI related. Let me read it. It says the social media platform on Tuesday said the restructuring will help support its transformation initiatives, including reallocating resources to AI-focused roles and teams and prioritizing AI-powered products. And that's going to be the theme. It's crazy because like in Trump's economy and such, they keep bragging about, look at our GDP numbers, look at all these data center projects, look at all this, great AI investments. That's what I think Trump calls it AI factors and stuff like that. But the end result's going to be less jobs for people. So like, how is that going to make sense for the economy? And like, why are we celebrating said things? And I'm not against innovation. And I know that this is just, the way that it is, the same way you have automation in various factories, or the one I really notice, at least here in Korea, pretty much every cafe and every restaurant we go to now has a digital kiosk. It's just it's just how it is. I actually personally like the digital kiosk. I think it works great. I can see the menu visually. They also, it's really useful if you want to be international, and you can put like, multiple languages in said thing, and it makes it really easy for people to do, and you can pay at your table. So some things I'm not against it. I actually like it. But some of these, things to where like when you want to call the bank or something like that and you can't get a human, I never like that kind of stuff. And then they kind of force you to go to the website, and what if the website doesn't work? Sometimes you just want to talk to a human. So I think there's a lot of people who feel the same. For certain things, you just kind of just talk to someone and you get tired of press 1 for this, 2 for that, whatever. But I do think a lot of companies are going to go this route, and that's where we're at. And it's interesting because we're in a big earnings season right now. So the next 3 weeks, we'll be talking about various companies and what they say. And they're going to have to say a couple different things. So one is, where did all that AI spend go, right? So this is the headline then today. Microsoft and Meta earnings put a focus on payoffs from AI spending. So they have to convince everyone, right? Hey, don't worry about our stock is down. I guess Microsoft's down 11%. Meta's down 10% since their last earnings report. And there's just, it takes, if you're going to do, say, it's AI stuff, yes, you got to build your data centers, and yes, you got to spend all this money, and you buy all these chips, et cetera. So yeah, NVIDIA's been making bank on this kind of stuff. But then to keep this sort of thing going, Microsoft and Meta are going to have to say, hey, are we actually making some money on this stuff? When are you going to make money on these things? And let's see what it says here. You'll see it says, investors wondering about payoffs from the pile of cash. That's how it's written. Pile of cash being spent on artificial intelligence should get some clues when Microsoft and Meta post earnings after close Wednesday. So that's today. That's a big day, actually. Tech giants are the first of the corporate America's big 4 AI spenders, with results from Alphabet and Amazon due next week. So you get all of these together, you'll get a basic idea, okay, what's going on with the markets and what's going on with our investment in AI? Is it actually paying off? And what are you doing with said money? I'm actually, curious on this stuff. And then you're also going to get stuff like this. If you don't want to invest in Microsoft or Meta or even OpenAI, which is not a public company, but people can still be interested in that stuff. As I think recently SoftBank said they want to dump more money into that. This was a really interesting one. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. These billion-dollar AI startups have no products, no revenue, and eager investors. So that's where we are right now in our markets, is we're investing in companies with, again, no products, no revenue, but hey, they said AI, so it must be good, right? And this is what a bubble looks like, to be perfectly frank. It was saying that there's like a bunch of these kind of billion-dollar companies. I was like, what the heck? No, for real. They're mentioning, I'll read it. It says, well, there were more than 1,000 startups with valuations of $1 billion or higher. The number of neolabs is generally believed to be in the dozens. So the neolabs, that they were talking about, this one, that this guy, he's like a PhD at Stanford, or student at Stanford. And then he's building this lab thing, if you want to call it building, but we'll say starting a lab called Flapping Airplanes. And the idea is we're going to hire all these, young and snappy, is that a good word? Snappy people. And we're going to figure out what can AI be used for to do awesome stuff. And people are like, oh my God, you said AI? You said young people, talented? Wow, I'll throw money at that. And that's why these headlines become really funny. These billion-dollar AI startups have no products and no revenue in eager investors. And everyone's looking for the next OpenAI. But the crazy thing about that, OpenAI could go bust. There is a world where they go bust. And I know some people's like, well, what do you mean? It's all over the news, et cetera. But the thing is, they're not profitable. And if you keep burning money, so every time you generate, whatever image or ask a OpenAI, ChatGPT, that's their app, a question, it costs, energy, it costs power, and they don't get enough revenues coming in because not enough people are willing to pay for said thing. And so that's going to be really interesting then. How does Microsoft, Meta, Google, how do these other companies report all this AI spend? Like, what's it doing? Because I see examples, something like a Microsoft, they have their Microsoft Teams, and our people, I think Copilot, I think that's them. How many people subscribe to that? Meta, to my knowledge, I don't think they have a paid, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think Meta's got a chatbot, at least that I'm aware of. If you guys know if Meta's got a chatbot, you can let me know. I just don't think so. But then there's Google, they got Gemini, and that's kind of included, like just when you search on Google, but I mean, at the moment, they're probably taking a loss on that because that takes compute power, and how many people can they get to subscribe? I'll be frank with you guys. I use Gmail. I have Google products. I'm sure a lot of you have Gmail also. And if you, go anywhere on the web, I mean, Google's the thing, and you search it and it like shows you, your Gemini results first. And I mentioned the Gmail thing because every time, like every now and then, they'll send me emails like, hey, do you want to try Google Gemini? It'll be free for a month or discount for a couple months. And then they want you to pay. And I never get it. But, theoretically someday that we all get this stuff, because I do see a world where some people will get it. It all depends what you need it for, right? But that's the question, is how many and what percentage, and are you ever going to be profitable on this stuff? So that's what we're looking for. What's interesting, though, there are still investments in this stuff. As I mentioned, the startup one. There's this Korean company, SK, which is a major company actually here in Korea. They're going to do something in the US. It says South Korea's SK Hynix to establish a special AI company in the US. Okay. Huh. AI company or AI co. Okay. So that they're still figuring out the name. Will serve as a hub of SK's AI strategies. And yeah, I'm not against innovation. This stuff will have some uses, but will it be as hyped and as great as, they say it's going to be? Because when we talk about AI, it's basically scrubs the web and puts stuff together, and so it was a large language model. I think is what you call it, the LLMs. It's not AI in the sense of it's a thinking person kind of thing. We're not at that stage yet. A lot of people think it is that way, but it's not. And so, can these things actually do what we promise that they're going to do, and is it worth the investment? I think the issue is if the economy does take a huge dive, and people cut back on their spend, and companies, they're not going to be subscribing to these things, and these things are going to be loss leaders. So that's why OpenAI, there is a world where they go bust. There is very possible here. And then you got this kind of stuff, which is interesting. The government is barreling toward a partial shutdown over DHS funding. Here's what to expect. So while people are losing their jobs, right? Trump's got his people out, and just real. I don't want to make any jokes about this. This is harassing people, terrorizing people, right? And the average person is just like, I just need the food on my table. Why are you asking me for my passport or papers when I just want to get to work? That's essentially what the U.S. is right now. And the craziest thing is that normally we'd be talking about the Fed, right? I guess that's today. The Fed releases its latest interest rate decision Wednesday. Here's what to expect. Like normally this would be like what we talk about. This is like the last thing we're talking about. But I guess no one's expecting any changes in rates, so no surprises there. And we'll see what Powell says about, I think it's unemployment and the job cuts. That's going to be the talk. So do pay attention to that stuff, and I'll let you know if there's anything worth mentioning. However, though, yes, today the big news is the Amazon situation. So if you're part of this or know anyone who is, please let us know what's going on. I didn't see any details about which particular departments. It sounded like it could be a lot. And essentially they just asked team leaders, pick someone, and then now they're announcing the cuts, and then I guess some employees will be getting emails today or otherwise. So that's the news today. I wish I had better news for you guys. I just tell you what it is, though. So do be safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next video.